Hey guys, we are back. You hopefully just finished watching our Love and Respect. If not, go watch that when you're done watching this one. We are recording two back-to-back today, and our third book is From Foreign to Familiar by, what's her name?
Sarah Lanier.
Lanier?
Lanier.
Sarah
A. Lanier. Or if, I don't know, Americans might say Lanier, but it's Lanier.
Okay, Sarah Lanier. From
Lanier.
Whatever. Foreign to Familiar.
Yeah.
A guide to understanding hot and cold climate cultures.
Yes. So,
explain what that means to them.
Yeah, basically this is a really easy concept. Oh, yeah. It's very basic, again, very broad generalizations, and you know, they're not 100% accurate, but they give a good understanding. And that is the hot climate culture people typically you know, have one kind of way of life in a sense, and cold climate cultured people typically have another. So we'll get into the details, but typical cold climates are Canada, woo!
Really, North America, most of the states. Most of the U.S.
May I just
I've
got this. Yeah, most of the U.S. is a cold climate, except for the southern states. Most of Europe is cold climate.
Except I think like Greece.
Yeah, like the Netherlands or something.
Yeah.
A few oddballs in there. Russia is an oddball. It's actually more like a warm climate, they said. And other cold climate. I think that's actually all the cold climate.
Pretty much.
And then warm climate would be South America, Mexico, Africa, and
most of Asia.
Most of Asia, yeah. And that covers most of the world.
Australia fell in that.
Yeah, I think Australia is probably just a happy little medium because they're like half of Canada. But we share a lot of things in common with them. But then they have a lot of easygoingness that I would relate to the hot climate. Yeah, so I'm not sure where they fall, but good for you, Australia.
So based on, I guess, our explanation, you guys might be able to guess that we're from two different climate cultures.
I would have never guessed.
Really?
I would have thought we were brother and sister.
Huh.
Anyway. So typically, cold climate.
Hot climate.
Hot climate.
Born and raised in Nigeria. Kinda, it's in me.
You get to the details. It's not true for everything. Yeah. But that's okay.
And she expresses that in the book that, people are, you're generally one, but then you might find with certain things, because that's where your personality now comes in.
Exactly.
Your personality might take you more towards cold culture or more towards a hot culture based on how you are.
Just a little side note. Yep. It's key when you're reading books to know whether the author is a man or a woman. Some things just don't make sense when you're thinking about them from, like, this is a dude talking. I thought it was a guy who wrote this book.
I did too until, like, the third chapter. I was just like, oh no, it's a woman!
Oh,
now it makes sense.
Yeah. So anyway, that was just a side note.
Yeah.
But, so do you want to start in with some of the chapters? Sure.
Alright, so the first chapter she talks about after explaining the hot and cold is relationship versus task orientation.
Guess which one's which. Okay, you can't actually guess, so we'll just tell you.
Relationship orientation is hot climate. Task orientation is cold climate.
Yep.
So, what does that mean? It means in hot climates for relationship-based cultures, truth is not the focus. Rather, relationship and friendliness is the focus of what you do.
Yeah.
So, if someone's just like, hey, is this dress ugly on me? You're just like, no, honey, you look great. You look good in whatever you want to look good in. Like, you're a beautiful person.
Yeah.
If someone's, doing a terrible job at work, you don't knock them for it. You appreciate how good they are, and you kind of try to push them in the right direction, but you don't be like, you suck, you're getting fired. We don't do that. It also tells us that the goal of hot climates in that is to promote a feel-good atmosphere and a friendly environment. So the personalities in a lot of hot climates are kind of feeling. We feed off each other. How do you feel is how I feel. How I feel is how you feel.
Yeah.
And people are the primary focus, and we combine the task and relationship to be relational. So that's why in a lot of hot climate cultures, work and everything is all about who you know. It's not about how well you can do your job. It's just who you know. It's your mom's doing it, you're getting that job. That's just what it is. You're getting it. And people don't necessarily like that, but in that culture, it works. Now, before I hand it over to Dave, I'm going to say something important here before you guys listen any further. she does really, really explicitly tell you, do not judge other cultures for the way they live without understanding the history as to why they live that way. Mm-hmm. And I know that's very common in North America. We just want to impose our views and our ways on others, but sometimes what works for them, it works great. And let them do what they do. You don't know why they do it. You might not like it, it might not work for you, but you do you, let them do them. You do you, I'm gonna do me. That's really that.
Yeah.
So, go ahead.
Okay.
Do you want to do your cold for you?
I thought I was just doing the next chapter.
I'll do the cold for you then. Okay, so cold climate cultures are task-oriented. So it's all about getting the job done. Doesn't matter how you feel, doesn't matter if you're sick, if your parent just died, get the job done. It's real simple. Personal feelings are kept separate.
Wemmy is very over simplifying this, but that's okay. Keep going.
I don't think I am.
Okay.
When it comes to like the job, because an example.
When your parents just died, it doesn't matter?
Hold on. I'll give an example.
Sure.
An example to that is, in North America, do you get a week off work just because your parent died? No.
No, but you
can take vacation.
But
you go to a hot climate, like that's a significant thing, and they'll give you that's just you gotta go. You stay away for 2 months if you need to, and we got your job.
But that's still okay. That's all
I was referring to.
And that is a bizarre comparison, and anyway.
That's all I was trying to say.
Okay.
Anyway, personal feelings are kept separate from the objective issues at hand, and task or goal or whatever the priority, and they're separate from the relationship. So it's like, I still care about you, I still care about what you're going through in life, but right now, the job needs to get done. We're going to do that. We'll talk about our feelings later.
Yeah.
So next.
Cool. So the next chapter was talking about direct versus indirect communication. And I hope I don't get this wrong, but hot climate cultures typically are indirect, and cold climate, are typically direct. And so basically what this means is it's tougher to get to the answer, to the true answer in a hot climate culture. So for an example of this is asking for directions. If you're in a hot climate culture and you're driving your car and you're lost, and so you stop somebody on the road and say, "Hey, excuse me, sir, can you help me? I need to get to the gas station. Do you know where the nearest gas station is?" And you just be like, "Oh, yeah, just keep going about 4 miles, make a left, no problem, you'll see it." And you're just like, "Oh, thanks," and you go on your way. There might not even exist a gas station, but the kind of goal in that culture is to,
you don't want to be
helpful. Yeah, exactly. So you're not getting this kind of direct answer. Another example is the kind of concept of the way the conversation happens. If basically myself, Wemmy, and another person were in the room and it was like a hot climate culture, then if I were to kind of want to say something negative about this person, then it would actually go through Wemmy. I'd be like, "Hey, Wemmy, they're not really doing something that I like, ugh." And then it's kind of just through that, Wemmy then approaches the third person and says, "Hey, maybe try to change things up. Some people might not like it." So it's very much relationship based, as Wemmy had said, and indirect in terms of communication. Whereas, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, just want to give an example.
Sure.
An example of that is I think you see this all with my mom and I. If we're interacting and there's someone else in the room and maybe the person is talking too loud, I'm not going to say, "Hey, Mom." I'm not going to say to the friend, my mom's friend, "You're talking too loud." They're like, "Mom, she's talking too loud." And then my mom's going to be like, "Hey, you're talking too loud." That's
But it's not even, your mom's not even going to say, "Hey, you're talking too loud." "Hey, people think you might be talking too loud."
It's going to be we'll go about a roundabout way of doing things because we want to get accurate information. We just we do it the long way. If you want to know the way, if you like I said directions, if we don't know it, we'll either tell you just go right and turn left and there's someone over there, or we'll pull up another guy on the road and be like, "Hey, they want to know the way to get something, you tell them," and we'll do that. So
and then so on the flip side of that is the cold culture, and that is direct communication. You ask a question, you get an answer. It's dirt simple when you live it, and I think it's pretty simple to understand when you don't, if you're not, obviously you're immersed in the cold culture, but I think it's an easy concept to understand. Is basically you ask a question, you get an answer, and if you have a problem, you voice it. If you you know, like something, you voice it.
It's not taken personally.
It's not taken personally.
Yeah.
No, there's just, you're entitled to your opinion. This is like kind of one of the cores is, yeah, you're entitled to your opinion, so you kind of say it. Yeah.
Alright, next up we have individualism versus group identity. So you can probably guess where each one falls there. Hot climate is all about the group identity. Cold climate is all about individualism. Be your own man, stand up for yourself, have your own opinion, do you. All those little mantras, individualism. Group identity is, it's all about the family, takes a village to raise a child. Those kind of mantras as well come from the hot climate.
Yeah.
So what does that mean? A simple thing he put is, I belong, therefore I am. That's how hot climate kind of summarizes their life. Because I'm part of this group, I matter. Because I'm part of this group, I exist. So your identity is tied to the group that you're with. If you ask someone from hot climate, who are you? They're like, I'm from, that's where you get tribes from. I'm from this tribe. I'm from this village. Because that's part of who they are. Versus here, like people are like, oh yeah, I'm an Ontarian. I'm a Torontonian.
Yeah.
They don't say that generally.
And I don't even think it's not necessarily about where you come from.
No.
It's who are you?
Yeah.
And you'd say,
I'm this person's
from
child,
exactly,
from this place.
Yeah. So it's your identity as opposed to an attribute kind of thing.
Yeah.
Whereas, yeah, I think cold climate is it's just, oh yeah, I grew up in Toronto kind of thing. But that's
so it goes further to say, like, in that the group protects for you, the group provides for you. You only take initiative in the group based on your role in the group. You're not just like, I want to speak up, so I'm going to speak up. You speak up because it's your turn to speak up. You speak up because you've been assigned to speak up. So there's kind of that whole situation that I know North Americans don't really like that.
Yeah. So there's an example about this in the UN, for example, is like could be 20 different cultures there, 20 different countries represented, and basically if there's a couple countries like the US, like European countries, Canada, and they're all arguing about a certain point, and they're just saying, hey, I want this, I want this, I want this. And then I don't remember the country. I feel like they said Uganda, but a representative from an African culture, African country, basically speaks. He's kind of having this little discussion with the people around him, and he speaks up and he's just like, guys, I think this. That opinion should actually be weighted more heavily because he's actually representing more truly
representing 20 people,
everybody, as opposed to the Canadian who's there. He's thinking for himself. Now, that's obviously a harsher way to look at it. Like, he is absolutely representing Canada in a sense, but he is still an individual with an individual mindset who's going to make a decision based on his individualism, whereas
versus the group identity.
Yeah.
And another example she gave is in that, like, my behavior reflects the whole group. So what does that mean is when I'm out, I need to look good. I need to set a good example of what my family name's all about, of what my history's all about, what my culture's all about. So how I act is a huge reflection as to where I come from.
So, do you want to share the example?
Yeah, so she gave an example of, like, she was out in Amsterdam. She's in Amsterdam, and she was walking, there were some Iranian kids behind her, and they were just saying inappropriate things.
Hot culture.
Yeah, and they were playing around, saying a bunch of inappropriate things, and, would it be Iranian in the language?
I don't know.
In a language spoken in Iran.
Yeah, that she just happened to know.
That she happens to know because she's a world traveler, she knows all languages. So she turns around, and she speaks to them in that language, and she's just like, what's your family name?
Yeah.
And they're like, what? Like,
No, they answer.
They're like, well, we're from this family. And she's like, okay, I'm going to go tell your family this is how you were behaving. And they're like, no, please don't. Because for them, that's a reflection of their entire family. If they get home, that's you made your dad look bad, you made your mom look bad. Unlike here, where it's just like, you look bad.
Right.
No, you've made every single one of us look bad by saying that to that person.
And that's going to be a much bigger punishment in the long run than any kind of yelling or whatever.
So that's that idea. And then, I think did I cover both? No, I didn't cover the cold climate. So the cold climate, we have individualistic culture. We kind of touched on that. Just the idea of I'm a self-centered person, my own identity. I represent me. I do me. I have my own goals, my own thoughts, and every individual should have an opinion. We really push that here in North America. Like, you should have an opinion. You should have your own goals.
Stand up and speak.
Yeah. Versus, like, hot culture. Why? I don't need to stand up and speak. My group speaks for me.
Right.
And yeah, that's just, I think that kind of takes care of that.
Yeah.
Next.
Next is... Next up, sorry, I think I blanked out there. Next up is inclusion versus privacy. And so this one's very interesting, and the author has a good example, which I'll share in just a second. But basically the concept of inclusion is the hot climate culture, and privacy is the cold climate culture. So, I'm going to mix it up. I'm going to start with cold climate. So cold climate culture is, yeah, as Wemi was alluding to, is individualistic. So you don't mind your me time, your downtime. That's how you relax. Sometimes, like everybody likes a good party or whatever, but basically it's the concept of everything is kind of scheduled, like the pop-in. Very popular in Seinfeld, but in reality, no, it's not a thing in the cold climate culture.
You call before you come, you text before you come, never just show up.
Exactly. So there's just kind of that those walls, those invisible walls, actually exist all the time, and so the me time is a thing. Whereas the hot climate culture, it's no, your door is always open, always unlocked, always not even. It's there, available. It's anticipated. It's desired that you come in, like everybody. And
there's no such thing as I'm busy.
Yeah,
there's
exactly.
No such thing.
So basically, if Wemi's cooking dinner and somebody pops in the hot climate culture, that is more than accepted. They pull up a chair and Wemi will carry on. But
I'll keep cooking while you stand. We'll talk while I'm cooking.
Yeah, but basically, there's no inconvenience caused by this surprise visit. And so the author had a very good example, and it was just kind of funny. Is this was down in Chile, I think?
Yeah.
South America for sure, but I think Chile. And she was there for a year, and she had been there for just a couple of months, kind of thing, or maybe less than that. And was just kind of settled in, and she was kind of sad that she wasn't really making any friends, and like she just wanted to do stuff, and
no one was asking her to do anything, no one's inviting her out.
Exactly. Yeah. And then so she finally brought it up with one of the people she knew more closely, and they were like, "Well, Sarah, geez, like come on out, like we're mad
people are waiting for you.
Yeah, we're mad that you're not popping in, like you little jerk." And so it's just kind of funny because like I know that traveling, I would never think to just walk into a stranger's house and introduce myself. That just seems so unrealistic to me. But that's kind of the culture and how it kind of lives on. And, yeah. Yep. So that was inclusion versus privacy.
Yep. And I think we're going to throw an example here of where personality comes in. Because based on that, I'm supposed to be all about inclusion. And I am, to a certain extent. I like my privacy. I like my privacy. It talks about, like, for example, having private conversations. That's something that you do in a cold climate culture. Yeah. In a hot climate culture, there's no private conversations. We all just talk about the same things and we join conversations. I'm not like that. Like, I'm the kind of person just like, so I'm not talking bad about you, but so I talk to Dave. I don't want you in my conversation right now.
The ironic thing is another example that the book talks about is when you're in a group of people, and let's say language barrier is one of the things they talked about, how basically a warm climate culture person won't want to carry on a conversation in a language that somebody can't understand, and then I think that's funny because in our trips down in the vans, you guys talk in Yoruba, and I'm just like, oh, now I'm in my own little world, so I don't care because I'm in my me time, so it actually works out. But it's kind of funny,
what I think is really interesting would be to see you in Nigeria if that would be the same. And like I'm looking for when I went last time with like Jeff and them, and I don't think it was the same. Not like people who knew him, like when he'd come in the room, they'd change to English.
Right.
And start talking in English.
That's interesting, yeah.
Yeah, so it might just be that like you're now in a strange land, so you want to keep a part of you while you're in a strange land. Like for people who come from Nigeria, when we're in Canada, for example, because I'm now in a strange land, I want to speak my language.
Sure, but by speaking your language, you're losing the part of the warm culture.
Of their culture.
So it's kind of contradictory.
So
anyways,
it happens.
It was just kind of funny.
Yeah.
But inclusion versus privacy. What's next?
Next up is a different concept of hospitality. So this Dave kind of just already covered. Hot climate, hospitality, as he said, it's spontaneous. There's no advance invitation. You come for as long as you want, stay as long as you want, do whatever you want, kind of a thing. Cold climate, hospitality is taken more seriously and it's planned for. So, what does this mean? For hot climate, hospitality takes place in the home. We don't take you out to dinner. It's not that we don't want to, but then I'm not being hospitable to you. Me being hospitable is me inviting you to my house and cooking you a nice meal, and we eat together and we share my home.
Right.
And the host kind of takes care. This is one that's really big, and I found like a huge culture shock when we first moved to Canada, because where I'm from back in Nigeria, because we're a hot climate, the host takes care of everything. The host does, you don't
like for a party, for
yeah,
example.
for a party, for birthday parties. Like if I go to a birthday party, I'm not paying for my food. The birthday party person pays for everyone. That's kind of how it goes. When I came here and I was like, oh, so you're not paying for myself. I have to pay for myself, but you invited me. Like, it just didn't make sense to me when I first was like, so you invited me to come out and spend my money? That makes no sense. But that's how things work over here, and it's just a little bit different. And a gift is usually expected from the guest to the host. Like, we still bring a gift, a gift of thank you, whatever, but generally you pay for everything. Like, it's all your court. When you come to my house, same thing. I don't make you pay for anything. Like, you can stay for 10 days, you don't have to call me, you can pop up and be like, hey, you know, just flew in and I'm going to stay for 6 days. Alright, there's a bed, make yourself at home. Versus a cold climate where we don't do that. That's kind of how cold climate goes. Like, you don't just show up at someone's house. Are you crazy? Like, you don't do that. It's funny because you're not going to understand this, but I was watching a Real Housewives of Atlanta, and someone's sister came to her husband, like her sister's place, and she just like came, like, oh, she called her sister like 2 days before, hey sis, you know, I'm coming by, I'm going to come see you for the weekend or something. She's like, okay, cool, come on. She came, got there, she's like, oh yeah, I'm staying for 2 months. So, like, for her and her sister, like, her sister was kind of like, my husband, like, how do I tell my husband? It's not just my home, like, it's me and my husband live here. So it was kind of like, there was just a huge battle, like, you don't do that, you don't just pop up and I'm going to stay for 2 months. But to the sister, she's like, it's my sister's house, I can do whatever I want to do. I can come and stay for 2 months if I want. Like, it's my sister. So there's just a little difference.
Why wouldn't I understand that?
Why wouldn't what?
Why wouldn't I understand that?
What do you mean? I mean, because you don't watch the show.
Yeah,
that's all.
I was like, that wasn't that hard to follow.
No, that's all.
Okay.
Alright, so, yeah, cold climate, as we said, there's no such thing as spontaneous hospitality. You call in advance, you let me know, like, you know, 6 months in advance that you're coming for 2 months. You don't let me know a week before that you're coming for 2 months. Right. No, you gotta give me enough notice, and you pay for yourself. Yep. I'll give you the basics of life, but you pay for yourself. Yep. And yeah, hospitality as a whole is like a special thing. The host has to give you their full attention and has to entertain you and all of that, versus a hot climate where, like, I don't have to do a damn thing. Like, we eat, do what you want, I do what I want, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Here, go to the next one?
Sure.
Alright.
Sure. I'm going to cover the next two if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
Because this one I'm not really sure I fully understand. It's high context versus low context cultures. And so basically, Wemi alluded to this very early on in that basically the...
Do you want to use my cheat sheet?
Do you want to go?
Use my cheat sheet.
So hot climate is high context?
Yes, often
you better cover this one.
Alright. So
I don't understand this
hot climate is often high context, which means quite often every little detail matters. Everything matters. So what that means is who you're related to matters. Who you know matters. Right. So when you're in a conversation, when someone asks you to explain who you are, you need to tell them that, like, I'm totally from this family, I know this person, we lived on this street for 6 years, and then they feel comfortable with you. You don't just say, hey, I'm Dave Found Done. They're like, who are you? I still don't know who you are. So that, do you want to now take it?
Yeah, sorry. Well, she's pretty much done. But yeah, basically, high context cultures is things like that matter, like the greeting. As she said, it's not just a handshake. It might be a bow or a hug or a high five, kiss on the cheek. Anything kind of goes in terms of you need to do it their way. There's kind of rules in place.
If you don't kiss them on the cheek, it's disrespectful.
Exactly. So there are kind of cultural rules in place. And if you don't abide by them, that's going to get noticed. It even comes down to, like, manners and etiquette and things like that. Yeah. Whereas low context culture, which is kind of the cold climate, that's things where it's like kind of anything goes. It's very lax, easygoing. You don't have to, like, say Dr. No. Dr. Dave. You can just call me Dave. We can call adults by their first name. Yeah, we don't do that in hot call. Like, when I first moved to Canada, I was like, wait. You're like 30 years older than me. I have to call you by your first name? That just sounds weird. I couldn't do it. Like, I could not do it. I'll just not say people's names. And I still kind of find myself like that today.
I just don't say people's names. Like Dave's mom, just like Dave's mom, because I don't feel right calling her first name.
Do you say that to her?
I never refer to your mom by name.
That's fine, but do you ever, like, when you're, hi Dave's mom,
no,
she's just like, what?
I just say hi. I would never say her, I don't feel right saying her first name. Like, she's Mrs.
Found.
Whatever.
Anyway, so that's the difference between high context, low context.
And one more thing about hot climate is that it's always better to overdress.
Yeah. In
hot climate cultures, because those, like when they say everything matters, how you dress matters, the clothes you have on matters, whether your face is shaved matters.
Yeah. So that's high context. So the last one, I think this is the last one, right? Mm-hmm. Is the different concepts of time and planning. And this one is great just because of the example she had. So I'm just going to start with the example because it was perfect. Is in a hot climate culture, we have, actually it was talking about a mixed climate people being invited to the wedding. Something like what we're going to know. But anyway, basically the wedding was a wedding, in a hot climate culture place. And the wedding was had time of 2 o'clock. So at 20 to 2, all the Canadians show up, all the Americans show up, all the Europeans are just, showing up, taking their seat, and just waiting politely, it's great. And then, around 5 to 2, they're kind of looking at their watch because, no one's here. Like
no one's there,
nothing's set up. So at 2 o'clock, that's when people start, from a hot climate culture, start thinking about the wedding.
Like, okay, it's 2 o'clock, I should start ironing my shirt.
So it's time to stop what I'm doing.
Yeah.
It's time to get ready for the wedding. So basically, you iron your shirt, you do your hair, you have a shower, whatever. You're doing all those things to get ready for the wedding. Now you're
calling Joe to make sure Joe's wearing the same thing or whatever.
And then you show up at 4:30. Who knows?
Then and like at 3 o'clock, the people who are setting up the hall start showing up, and they set up the hall.
Yeah.
And they do all that, and by now the Canadians are like, I've been sitting here for 2 hours. Is this wedding is it canceled?
Yeah. What's going on?
Yeah.
So it was a really funny example, and just a huge difference. Another example they gave of this is going out for coffee. The author, wanted to meet for coffee with a fella, and he said 2 o'clock. So she'd show up at 2 o'clock, and he'd show up at 2:45. And so eventually she kind of did the math, and basically at 2 o'clock, this person would put their stuff down, wash up, and then
clothes, start walking to the train station,
and then it takes like half an hour to get there. So she was like, okay, add all those up. She's gonna be there at 2:45. From then on out, they said they'd meet at 2 o'clock, and she'd always show up at 2:45. And so it works. And so this is the kind of key, and Wemi alluded to this way back. I've said alluded like 12 times. But anyway, Wemi had said how, they're cultural differences, but they work. Yeah. And, it's like, it seems, and this is another thing that the author talks about, is to a cold climate culture, a lot of the warm climate culture ideologies or topics seem ridiculous. They seem crazy and just, how can anything work? And it's honestly, like, I completely agree with that. Like, I was reading these things being like, that is so stupid. And that's not very respectful of me. That is a terrible thought, and I took it back once you start thinking about it. But it is a kind of an eye opener that things can be so different, so vastly different, and still operate so uniquely
and they
well.
Still work.
Exactly. And
it's like what he was saying for the hot climate cultures. Getting ready is part of the event.
Yeah.
The process of getting there is part of the memories you make. So it's kind of the idea of trying to treasure every single moment leading up to the big moment. Versus the cold culture where it's like, no, the memories start when you get there.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the main takeaway between how both cultures see it. And I don't know if I want to go into the whole thing on that or no.
Yeah.
No? Okay.
I don't know what you meant.
Alright. Alright. It's just mainly just the idea that for hot culture, for things like this, spontaneous and flexible is the approach to life. There is no such thing as a fixed calendar. Your calendar is made as each day goes on. Like what I'm going to do tomorrow, I'll know when tomorrow comes.
Yeah.
And I'm open to whatever life gives me. Versus a cold climate where it's like, I'm doing this at 8 and this at 2, and that's not going to change no matter what. Hot climate, it'll change. It's okay. We don't care. That's kind of how hot climate works. And, yeah, saving time is not as important as experiencing the moment. And I think sometimes with Dave I find myself doing that. I'm just like, babe, it's okay. Let's enjoy the time. Like, let's enjoy getting there. It's okay. Like, don't panic. It's okay.
But we live in a cold climate culture, and we say we're going to be there at 8. I want to be there at 8. God, especially your wedding. Anyway. But yeah, no, so that was from foreign to familiar. I think it was a really good read. Like,
I loved it. Absolutely loved
it. She had a lot of really good examples that kind of just, you know, covered a whole spectrum. She was very straight to the point, too. Yeah, it didn't drag on. It was just a very short book.
I read it in like an hour and a half.
Yeah, it was very reasonable. I took 6 days, but that's okay.
You didn't.
Yeah, it was good, and I think it opened my eyes anyway, and
Same here.
Yeah, like I know I was gonna say something else about it, so maybe I'll let you go. And
Okay. I'll give you guys the 9 practical steps that she gave to understand the foreign to familiar. And then I'll throw in my very first one, which is my personal step. I learned this a couple of years ago in school. The importance of when you go to other cultures, to other countries, don't say things are weird. It's rude. It's different. It's just different. It's not weird. It's just different. It's different from what you know. Different from how you live your life. They're just different. They just do things differently.
It's not right. It's not wrong.
Yeah, don't say this is wrong. You're doing this the wrong way. No, it's just different. Open your eyes and be open to understanding why they do it that way.
Yeah.
And just, it is what it is. Don't come there and just be like, you have to do it my way. Like, doesn't always work. It might cause more trouble than you think.
Yeah.
So, her practical steps. 1.
I remember, but go ahead.
Okay.
Mine's not related.
Okay. 1. Look for a culture interpreter. Before you go somewhere, when you're somewhere, look for someone that can really help you understand that culture, who knows that culture, who knows your culture, who can tell you where the differences kind of lay between both.
Yeah.
Number 2, study the history of the people. So get to know why they do things the way they do it, the history behind their mannerisms and the way they greet each other and those things. Get to know those things. Number 3, search other books by that other foreigners found helpful.
Yep.
Because foreigners they'll understand your culture shock. Someone who already lives there, they won't understand why it's different. You're like, that's just not how things are where you come from. Yeah, like that's how we do things here.
Yeah.
So books that other foreigners found helpful. 4, ask major adjustments for foreigners who came to your country. Yeah, so ask people what they found different when they went to this place. Yeah, like what shocked them and what should I be prepared for. Number 5, try to find out the values of the society, because you never want to disrespect the values of the society. You always want to honor that so that you're not, I don't know, find yourself on the street or being rude or being an outcast in a place where you just want to go and have fun or you just want to go and hang out with friends.
Yeah.
Get to know their values. Number 6, be aware of culture shock and culture stress. Culture shock is the idea of going to a new place and just being overwhelmed by the way things are different.
Yeah.
Culture stress is when you now come back to where you're from and you now have to like try to balance the two and remember how things are supposed to go here versus how, because when you go to those cultures, you might, when you go somewhere new, you might learn to love certain things about that culture,
and try to,
but then when you come back, you're like, oh, that doesn't work that way here.
Anymore. Yeah.
So just, that's culture stress.
Yeah.
Number 7, reverse culture shock. Kind of same idea. Number 8, learn phrases in local language. So learn short things that you can say to kind of show that you are trying and you're willing to be a part of them and you're not like, I'm all high and mighty.
It's better to try than to only speak English.
Yeah, like when we went to Italy, we were terrible. We learned like 7 things, but whenever we did have an opportunity to use those words, we used it. Like when we greeted people, we always greeted them in Italian.
Granted, it helps if you're just traveling to touristy areas.
Yeah.
You know, that helps avoid some of these culture shocks.
Yeah.
But if you're getting heavily involved,
in
you know, do your legwork and learn the language.
Yeah. And last but not least, don't pass judgment until you've discovered the reason behind strange habits.
And then judge all you want. No, I'm just kidding.
Very important. Don't judge until you understand.
So yeah, so the only thing I was going to add was the hot climate culture, cold climate culture. There are more exceptions. Another one out there is like rural areas.
Oh yeah.
They typically tend to lean towards the hot climate, even in Canada or the US. So that's just a cool one. That's why I'm kind of, Wemmy really rides on me for being cold climate, but
he's pretty good. He's pretty good. Yeah, there are just things. I think she did say that the more urban a place gets, the more likely they are to be a cold climate. But if you go into like the rural village areas, you'll find there's more of that family relationship oriented style of living.
Yeah. So that's it. We have to sign off because the sun is setting. And it's
you probably can't see me anymore.
It's a beautiful day outside, and so we need to eat.
Yeah.
But that was From Foreign to Familiar by Sarah A. Lanier.
Lanier?
Lanier?
Lanier.
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 Lanier. Anyway,
okay, I'm getting it.
Hopefully we're right, Sarah. If we're not, maybe Sarah's one of our watchers. If so,
it's a pretty old book, so I'm not sure how old she is now, actually.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, this book will also be included in the giveaway.
So don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment, and let us know what you think about the book. If you found yourself in these funny situations, in these strange, weird, different situations, let us know.
Yeah, one more book to go after this.
Yay!
And
we hope you're tuning up your marriage and your relationships.
Absolutely.
With these tips.
Alrighty, we'll talk to you guys later.
Bye.
See ya.